Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are playing Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. We are playing this again, however this time we are playing the Game Boy Advance version of the game, not the Super Nintendo version. And just a quick FYI, I'm actually playing an emulator for it, which I'm playing on my modded Wii U here. I got my Game Boy Advance right here. I got the original game. My Game Boy Advance is actually backlit here. But if I turn this off and pull out the cartridge, there is my Link to the Past cartridge right there. The reason I'm using an emulator though is because I don't have a very good video output with my capture setup for my Game Boy Advance yet. Plus it's all packed in those Tupperware containers anyway. And my Super Nintendo footage, which of course is pre-recorded, I pre-recorded it a while ago when I still had a FrameMeister before I replaced it with the OSSC, because my OSSC doesn't like my capture device very well. So I'm just using an emulator for Game Boy Advance. I'm using RetroArch, and I'm using pixel 1:1 pixel integer scaling. Not 1:1, but it's integer pixel scaling, so that way there's no stretching or anything like that. Hopefully it works. But I got it side by side, so at the very least you can see the comparison here. But go ahead and get this started. But before we jump into the gameplay here, also quick note, Game Boy Advance version included 4 swords, which I've never played on the Game Boy Advance, but I really like on the GameCube. But before we get started, please click the like button to help out the YouTube algorithm. Also, because this channel is a growing channel, it doesn't really pop up on a lot of recommended feeds. So if you like this video, please share it on social media with all your friends or on Twitter or message boards or whatnot. Help get this video some more exposure, and that'll help out this channel, which will encourage me to make more videos for you to enjoy. So anyway, we're going to play Link to the Past, start a new game. Of course, it's got to do all this tutorial stuff. But just a quick FYI, not an FYI, but just kind of, this is more of the history of the Game Boy Advance, which of course, this is the first model Game Boy Advance. The second one was the SP, which is kind of like that clamshell one. And the third one, which I got in this case here, which, there's all my Game Boy games that I keep all wrapped in plastic. But here is the Game Boy Micro. Nice little travel case in case I want to take my Game Boy with me. But I like the original model because it's more ergonomic. I got it modified for backlit, but it takes batteries. Of course, I got lithium in there, so I don't have to worry about acid leaking or anything like that. But when I was going back to college, I bought a Game Boy Pocket at the time because I was without a portable handheld for quite a while. But I was hanging out at the comic book store in between classes and before going to work, and I'm like, I play Magic with people and having fun, but if there's ever a time where I don't have money to play the arcade games there, or if there's no one there to play Magic, I kind of need something to do. And the comic book store was more of a hangout place too, the way it was set up. But I picked up a Game Boy Pocket there because they sold used video games, and got back into playing Game Boy games. And I was amazed how good the Game Boy Pocket was. And then after a month, I picked up the Game Boy Color, and then about a year or two later, the Game Boy Advance had come out. And I was so happy with the Game Boy Advance because I always wanted a portable Super Nintendo. And this to me was a portable Super Nintendo. Even though it's actually not. The processor is different. It's much more powerful, more capable. Maybe not so much in the sound stuff, but it's more than a Super Nintendo. But when the Super Mario Advance game came out, which was basically kind of a loose port of Mario 2, you knew that you would most likely see ports of Super Nintendo games, which was kind of cool. So yeah, this was. And it was a 32-bit processor, so you knew you would see some PlayStation 1 quality games, or close to PlayStation 1 quality games, and some Super Nintendo ports. So this, to me, was a portable Super Nintendo to me, which, of course, then Mario World came out, and Link to the Past came out, so I jumped on them right away. And I have no idea why the background is purple. Probably something to do with the emulation. But anyway, I am going to restart the Super Nintendo video here just to kind of get a better comparison there. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the TV here. Is it going to display on the TV? Yeah, there we go. But, I mean, as you can see right away, the Game Boy Advance had a much lower resolution than the Super Nintendo. I wish it would have had the equivalent resolution, just so that way you could have some better ports. But because of that, you either... Oh, that's another thing I want... I mean, God, there's so many differences in this game. It's not a port. There's actual differences. Like, the lamp will actually burn bushes, where it wouldn't burn bushes in the Super Nintendo version. When you swing your sword, Link makes the yelling sound like he does in the N64 games. But anyway, when they were bringing over Super Nintendo games from onto the Game Boy Advance, you had two options. You had to either shrink down the sprites, which of course was lower quality, or you had a lot of detail kind of around the corners that you didn't see. And also, Super Nintendo controller, I got one kind of like wrapped up in cord here, but you can kind of see you got more buttons there. You got the X and the Y, where you did not have that on the Game Boy. So you had a couple less buttons, so the developers kind of had to get creative a little bit, which they did good with like Street Fighter 2 and whatnot. Also, there's a lot of Game Boy games where the contrast, like the brightness, is kind of set higher, and that is, of course, because the original Game Boy was not backlit, so it made it a little easier to see. So if you're playing on a TV, it kind of looks a little brighter than it should. But anyway, you hear like the Link going, yeah, 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 which he didn't do in the Super Nintendo version. Of course, this version actually runs a little faster with like the screen transitions and whatnot. But man, this was great. I mean, at the time when like PlayStation, Nintendo 64 came out, you know, this was like my later years in high school, going back to college, dropping out of college, living in an apartment, going back to college, picking up where I left off. Didn't have a lot of money, so I wasn't able to like buy another Super Nintendo and rebuy a lot of the games I like to play and whatnot. So I had to, you know, just kind of make do with what I had. Which, of course, you know, I had PlayStation 1 and eventually PlayStation 2 came out. But Game Boy Advance, it was kind of because you had some Super Nintendo ports coming out, there wasn't really much of a need at the time for me to buy another Super Nintendo when I could play Game Boy Advance versions of games. You know, like Super Mario World, Super Mario 3, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Street Fighter 2, which was Super Street Fighter 2. So like I said, it was the portable Super Nintendo experience on the Game Boy Advance. It's funny because a lot of people, when a new console comes out, they complain about too many ports. Like on the Switch, it's like, oh, there's too many too many Wii U ports. But when the Game Boy Advance came out, the Super Nintendo ports was the reason I bought the console. I mean, or bought the handheld. That's what I wanted. So that was the selling factor for me. Which, you know, the Switch is the same way. You know, it's a portable console, so I can play the Wii U games on portable now. But I can tell, I mean, I've been playing so much Link to the Past lately that I did not know this when I first played the game, or even though probably the last time I played it. But even just the gameplay on this just feels faster. And it could be just because of the bigger pixel size. And the speedrun records for Link to the Past on Super Nintendo are different than Game Boy Advance, just because there's so many differences in the game. Like, you know, you burn the bushes, faster screen transition, text scrolls faster. If you have the red boomerang, you can actually throw the red boomerang and it will destroy bushes. So just a lot of little subtle differences like that. But, you know, it's funny because later on the Super Nintendo's life cycle, I really wanted a portable Super Nintendo. I was really hoping that Nintendo would make one, but they never did. Because the Sega had made their Sega Nomad, which was their portable Genesis, which I wish I would have bought one back in the day. But yeah, I mean, the Game Boy Advance, I mean, The only thing the Game Boy Advance for me was really lacking was a good Mortal Kombat game. Like, he had Mortal Kombat Advance, which was horrible, horrible. Then he had Mortal Kombat, the Deadly Alliance ports. It was kind of like, like a 2D sprite version on like a Mode 7 type platform. And it actually worked really good. Tekken did the same thing, and it was an alright game. But it wasn't like that classic Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3 game. But it didn't matter too much because I had plenty of ways to play the classic Mortal Kombat. Not portable, but, it worked. And then, of course, you had the Final Fantasy games coming out for Game Boy Advance, which was just completely seal the deal. And they made Metroid Fusion. I wasn't a fan of Metroid Fusion, but Metroid Zero Mission was really good. I really liked that. I wish they would have made Super Metroid on Game Boy Advance. That would have been awesome. And I'm not going to do like a whole playthrough or anything like that. It's only going to be like a 20 or 30 minute video. But I still like my Game Boy Advance. I still keep it around because if anything ever happened where like the power went out, nice thing about the Game Boy Advance with the original model that I have is it takes batteries. So if the batteries ever die, I can just replace the batteries. And I always keep AA batteries around. Like I always keep like emergency supply, for flashlights. And I keep the lithiums because they last forever and they don't leak acid or anything like that. Much better. Definitely buy Energizer lithiums. Of course, nowadays they got like USB chargers that, plug in, you can put like AA batteries in them and solar chargers and stuff like that. So it's not quite as critical as it used to be. Power goes out for a week or something, gotta have my games. Gotta have something to play. And they did a good job capturing the music from the Super Nintendo version. A lot of Super Nintendo ports onto the GBA didn't capture the music very well. Like the music kind of sounds off. But it still sounds pretty spot on. And it uses it processes sound a little differently. I don't remember the technical details of it. God, so much smoother in the GBA. I forgot how good the GBA version of this game was. When I get my gaming set up, back when I get a place and I have a dedicated game room, I definitely got to get a good HDMI cable for my GameCube so I can play Game Boy Advance games in good resolution like this. And I bought a flash card a while ago for my Game Boy Advance to put the ROMs on it so I can keep carrying the Game Boy Advance with me. But I just wasn't happy with the flash card. Kept having to like mess with it and copy the right ROMs and do conversions to get them to save the games correctly and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you know what? Screw it. If I want to play a Game Boy Advance game, like a ROM or something like that, I'll compilation, like a bunch of them together, then I'll use my modded PSP or something. Oh, I'll kill him. There we go. He drew first blood. And I'll probably just beat the first dungeon. And if my Super Nintendo video gets to the end, I'll probably just loop back to the beginning. But we're not going to go to the town and talk to the people. We're just going to go straight to the dungeon. And you can kind of see like a lot of the compromises in terms of like where the HUD is, like where the hearts and your amount of rupees and the magic meter, how they had to make that smaller and things like that. Which they did for Super Mario Bros. 3 in the Game Boy Advance. Like it had that little area down the bottom, which they got rid of that almost completely and kind of made it more transparent. Which they did a really good job with Mario 3 in the Game Boy Advance. It almost felt like it was made for the Game Boy Advance. Donkey Kong Country I thought was horrible on the Game Boy Advance. Even though they put a lot of work into it, and pretty much made it from the ground up. I think Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3 were much better. But just the graphics and everything, they just weren't quite there. They shrunk down the sprites and whatnot. But, like Sonic the Hedgehog, when Sega ported the Genesis version over to Game Boy Advance, yeah, it wasn't too good. Like, the sprites and stuff were too big. So I actually had the opposite effect. I'm already about to die. Ugh. Like, the speed and everything in the game is throwing me off. I don't even know why I'm bothering to grab that. I'm only gonna play till the end of the dungeon anyway. But I would say out of all the handheld systems to come out for their time, I would say Game Boy Advance is the best. And if I remember correctly, I think it actually launched in America first before Japan. I might be wrong, but I remember that being talked about or being a thing back in the day. Give me a heart. That's okay. Now, I wanted to do the thing where I do like, I didn't even need that. What the heck was I thinking? Here I am thinking I'm playing a randomizer. I want to do the thing where I have like the Super Nintendo sound on the left side and the Game Boy sound on the right side, but that's okay. It's similar enough to where it doesn't really need a huge comparison. It's not like the Super Nintendo and the Genesis games. But I'm hoping to do more Game Boy Advance comparison vids. Because that was one of the major things I really wanted to do when I started doing these YouTube videos. Was comparing Game Boy Advance games. Because I loved the Game Boy Advance a lot when it came out. I mean, it's easily my favorite handheld. And it had a huge library of games when it came out too. It was actually a pretty good amount of games. And of course, it was fully backwards compatible with Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. There were some disadvantages over using the Super Game Boy, like there were some like color palettes that the Super Game Boy would use where the Game Boy Color or the Game Boy Advance would not use. I don't remember the details of it, but it's like a couple weird different ones. But for the most part, it was pretty compatible. It would still play the games though. Let's go right past them. I think the last Game Boy Advance game I ended up getting was Final Fantasy VI, which Final Fantasy VI is easily my favorite Final Fantasy, so I was hugely ecstatic when that got announced. Which they announced, they released 1 and 2, and then they released 4. I don't remember if they released 5 or not. I think they released 5. But then they announced 6, and the DS was already out by that time, but or at least it was coming out. But then they released Final Fantasy VI, and I was very happy, and it is still probably close to my favorite Game Boy Advance game, one of my favorite Super Nintendo games, definitely my favorite Final Fantasy game. And Final Fantasy IV on Game Boy Advance, which was 2 on Super Nintendo, that was very good too. Had a little bit of custom backgrounds, but for the most part, it was almost identical to the Super Nintendo version. Of course, it had some extra features where at the end of the game you could play as some of those characters that you couldn't play anymore. So it had some extra bells and whistles. Best version of Final Fantasy IV is the PSP version, though. Oh, we gotta go... Oh, how do we go to the menu? There we go. Go into your menus and whatnot, you had to use the triggers on things you wouldn't use the triggers for on the Super Nintendo version, so that kind of takes some getting used to. But I think, let's see, when I got the Game Boy Advance, I had Of course, some core Game Boy games like Tetris and whatnot. I had Snow Brothers on Game Boy. God, that's such a rare game now. I can't believe how much those Snow Brothers on NES has gone up in value. I messed that up. That's alright. So I can destroy the pots with arrows, where you could not do that on the Super Nintendo version. But I picked up, I think Castlevania, the first Castlevania game to come out on Game Boy Advance. That was like one of the first games I picked up. I forget what else I got when it came out. I think it was Super Street Fighter 2. I remember picking up Mortal Kombat Advance, which was horrible. And it was such a bad game that I actually rewrapped it in plastic and exchanged it at Walmart. And got Street Fighter 2 for it instead, which was amazing on Game Boy Advance. But anyway, I mean, just a quick short video there. Just going to got the first dungeon completed. But yeah, I mean, that is Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past on Game Boy Advance. A good comparison to the Super Nintendo version. Just kind of let me know what you think. Do you prefer the Super Nintendo version? Do you like the Game Boy Advance version better? Did you even play them? Did you even able to compare them? Please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Talk to you later. Thank you for coming to my video. If you would like to help my channel grow, please like and subscribe, and please click on this little bell icon so you never miss a future video.